Hello and assalamu alaikum my dear students. How are you all? Okay, students, continuing with the previous lecture, today we are going to discuss about the fetch execute cycle. You can also call it as a fetch, decode and execute cycle. Okay, so let's start our lecture. Okay. Now the fetch execute cycle will look like that. The CPU will fetch an instruction from the memory and it will be decoded. Now the fetch instruction is totally related with the memory. CPU will fetch the instruction from the memory and then it will be decoded. Who will decode it? The decoders using the control unit will decode the instruction. Finally, this instruction is executed in the arithmetic logic unit, and then it will be stored and the next instruction will then be fetched. Okay, you know that your 1 gigahertz processor is able to perform 1 billion instructions per second. So this fetch cycle is used to decode this fetch cycle, among that, like billion of instructions per second, this instruction will be fetched from the memory in nanoseconds. Okay, moving on to the next image that you are seeing on your screen is about, it clearly defines what is a fetch, decode, execute cycle, right? Here's the RAM. The CPU will fetch the instruction from the RAM and then it will be the instruction will be decoded. Like, what is decoding? Like what we are going to do with this instruction, right? Okay, this control unit coordinate with the decoding unit. How it will decode? For example, there is instruction like 7 minus 3. Now minus is the operation that subtraction is going to be performed. So decode stage of this will decode the instruction, what we are going to do with that instruction, and then it will be decoded. And then the instruction will be sent to the arithmetic logic unit, and there it will be executed. Like 7 minus 3, the answer will be 4, will be stored in arithmetic logic units accumulator register. Now it will be stored again in the RAM, because RAM is directly connected with the output devices in order to display the results. So it will be so the answer will be stored here in the RAM. So this is all about the fetch, decode and execute cycle. Okay, moving on. Okay, now this is CPU and this is your main memory, and we are going to fetch the software program is in the memory, right? It is in the form of instruction and memory addresses. So the instruction is fetched, right? And in the CPU part, it will be decoded and executed, and the result will be again stored into the main memory. Now in all this process, registers are very important component. As we have discussed, that they are temporary memories that holds the data and information on temporary basis, right? Okay, there are mostly 5 types of registers, and there are much more according to the processor you are using. There are many other registers also, but these are the main registers that are used in the fetch cycle. Okay, so first register is memory address register. The CPU gives the memory address to the memory in order to execute the data. The program counter register is there it holds the address of the next instructions to be executed. Memory data instruction, of course, it get the data from the memory, and then and then the data and instruction is transferred into the control the current instruction register, and then it will be further the results of all these instructions will be stored in the accumulator register. Okay, here I'm just going to tell you about in the von Neumann architecture, registers are placed here in the central processing unit. Okay, now fetch, decode, execute cycle. There are three main parts of this process. Fetch, to retrieve the instruction that is required to be used. Then in decode, the instruction is interpreted and broken down into its constituent parts, like what is in the instruction, what we are going to do with that instruction. And in the execute stage, the instruction is performed and carried out. Okay, so today in your IGCSE course, the fetch cycle of your fetch, decode, execute cycle is explained. So we are going to explain the fetch cycle, how the CPU fetches an instruction from the memory and allow it to be decoded. Okay, so here you can see that the instructions called into the processor from the memory have been fetched and decoded. How? Okay, this is your processor, right? And you know this processor contains control unit, arithmetic logic unit, and registers in it. Okay, this is your main memory. Main memory contains instructions, right? Instructions, data, instructions. Instruction will be like 5 plus 7, and data will be like just 5 or 12. So any meaningful thing is like, it will be like instruction. What? Okay, so instruction will be fetched from the memory and it will be transferred to the processor in order to be executed, right? Okay, now this diagram will give you a more clear picture about the use of registers, right? This is your main memory, right? And main memory, I have told you that in the main memory you have, these are the addresses on the left hand side, and these are the data or instructions to be executed. For example, our first instruction is load 4. Program counter hold the address of the next instruction to be executed. So our first instruction to be executed is 000, then program counter, it will have 000, right? Now this address will be transferred to the memory address register here. So it will be copied. Okay, this instruction will be copied from program counter. This address will be copied from program counter to memory address register. Now memory address register with the help of address bus will move to it, and it will move here and on address 000, and this instruction, and will pick this instruction. Now how this? Okay, now the memory address register. Okay, now this load 4 will move to the memory data register through data bus, and this instruction will be loaded here. Now this instruction will move to the current instruction register. Current instruction register is directly connected with the control unit, and control unit will send this instruction to the decoders in order to decode this instruction. Okay, so this is our today's lecture about how to fetch an instruction. Now how it will be fetched and how this process will continue, we'll discuss in the next lecture. Your assignment for Tuesday is draw a digital presentation of RAM with 5 fields as data and also their memory addresses. So you need to just define you will need to show a digital presentation of memory with only 5 fields. Okay, which register is directly connected to control unit? You need to tell me, and go through my lecture. Every answer is there. Which register is directly connected to the data bus? Okay, so this is our today's lecture. I'm going to attach this assignment also in your CGSIS account. So kindly have a look at it and do this assignment until Wednesday morning. Thank you.